Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode number 48. Dave, how you doing today?
I am doing terrific. I want to give a huge shout out to our boy Carp, who has been helping me all weekend with a plumbing project at the house. I'm still working on the bathroom, and that poor man has been on the phone with me for probably 6 hours this weekend as I navigate the plumbing world. He is a plumber by trade and a great teacher, very patient. So thanks to Carp for helping me out. And I'm standing today because my back is so cranked from being in the crawl space all weekend. So that's why I'm standing. I'm trying to stay limber. So anyway, my long way of saying thank you, Carp. You've saved my ass.
Carp, I don't know how you put up with this shit. I mean, I hear the other side of the conversations when you and Carp talk. I mean, the poor guy, his phone's gone dead twice because you call him, you don't shut up, you don't listen. You don't listen to his Home Depot list. You go and just try to wing it yourself. I mean, I can go on and on.
No, that's not
true. I hear everything from Carp on the other side of the conversations, okay? I actually asked him this morning when I was talking to him, I said, Carp, what are you charging for virtual plumbing services these days? That sounds like a lucrative business.
It does. I mean, think you got no overhead either. What a great opportunity. You should start doing that. I'm surprised that's not a service. You know what? That's a hell of an idea. Yeah. You could offer all sorts of plumbing services. Electrical you might not want to do because you could burn down somebody's house. But like, there's some things that you could do that, I mean, from the comfort of your home, you could just sit there and give people tips and show them how to do stuff. Hey, but you got to be patient. And Carp is definitely patient. The first thing I said to him this morning when I called him was, hey, what I'm going to try not to do today is tie up your entire day. He goes, I don't think that's going to happen. I was like, you're probably right, but that's my goal. And I think he was on the phone for me at one point this morning for like an hour and a half straight. He just stayed on the phone.
You better send him a nice care package or something, you jerk.
Well, he's supposed to be coming to Tennessee here at some point, I think within the year. So I told him I owe him a nice dinner somewhere, and probably more than that, but we'll start with a dinner.
Yeah, no, you're keeping him up at night. You know, he's more worried about your damn plumbing project than the own project he's got going on in his own house. He's literally worried about your house.
Before I even started this project, I was telling him all about it, and we chat in the mornings when we're doing our first workout. When I'm doing my first workout, he's usually just getting his reading in. And he told me the next day after that conversation, he's like, I was up all night worried about your project. I'm like, you got your own project going on. What are you worried about mine for?
Well, listen, I don't get worried about your project because, you know, I'm absolutely useless when it comes to that stuff. So my only advice is that you shouldn't have started in the first place. So I don't help very much on the project.
Bryce asked me the other day, he heard Carp on speakerphone. He's like, who is that, Brett or Carp? I go, you really think Brett is helping me with a plumbing project right now?
Nope.
Bryce is like, no, you're right.
No, not me. Nope. And that's not going to be me. So, well, anyways, I'm glad it's getting worked out for you. Poor Carp.
Me too.
Yeah, but we're at episode 48 already. I mean, we record as the last few episodes you guys heard us. We've been recording on Sundays. I have a winter hat on if you're watching on YouTube. Hopefully this is the last day of this cooler weather. Looks like, mid 60s all week coming up. You're in a t-shirt. You said the sun came out finally. And I told you this morning, this is the first day.
The sun is there. I had to shut the blinds. It's blinding in here. I may have to get sunglasses soon. Yeah.
This is the first day in 10 mornings when I've gone out for my morning run that I didn't have to have a coat on or a raincoat on. Which is like, when I mean coat, I mean heavy coat because it's been in the teens and in the 20s, or it's been raining in mud. So I'm pretty excited about that. But moving on, it's Sunday. There's no Super Bowl this week. My 49ers did bow out of the playoffs last week. I'm just kind of glad it happened the way that it did because when you lose, we've literally finished the season with no quarterback. We went through 4 quarterbacks this season, and the fact that Brock Purdy went out on the 6th play of the game, it made it a lot easier because I don't know how you feel as a fan. I'd much rather lose a game the way we lost, knowing right then and there it was over, versus the game going down to the wire and losing on a last-second field goal or last play of the game or something like that. So it made me feel a little bit better knowing that we lost that way than if we had made it all the way down the stretch.
I mean, I see why you're saying that, but I would rather have my starters in there. I want to lose knowing we had the best team we could on the field.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were probably the better team, and the fact that you lost because you had knocked out 2 starters and Purdy came in and couldn't even throw the football anymore. I mean, that's a sad way to get. You got to that point in the season, all the obstacles you guys faced through the entire season, you got all the way there, and you couldn't see if you could have gotten over the finish line with a rookie quarterback. Like, that's where, like, I would have, like, if you got beat, Purdy was in the game and you guys just got beat by a better team, so be it. But the fact that you were probably the better team and you got beat that way, that would be tough for me to solve.
I mean, the
Cowboys lose with their starters and all the time, so it doesn't matter.
I just think it's an easier loss to take, a blowout loss, than a close loss. So I don't mean, obviously, from the starter standpoint. Obviously, I'd rather have the starters in there, but I'd rather see a blowout loss where you're not on pins and needles the whole time as a fan, versus a super close, heartbreaking loss. That's what I meant. Obviously, I didn't want Purdy to get hurt, and come to find out, the guy tore his UCL. I mean, he's going to need surgery, and it's going to be a freaking disaster. And now that Tom Brady retired, we have no quarterback that's going to be healthy for the start of next year. What the hell? You know what I mean?
And San Francisco's the one team Aaron Rodgers said he wouldn't go play for, so that's out too.
We'll see what happens if Lance is ready or Purdy's ready by week 1. But training camp's going to open up pretty interesting. The other thing, now that the Eagles had won, the Chiefs did win that game in the AFC, which you and I both agree was probably the worst officiated AFC championship game, or just championship conference game I've ever seen in my life. Not that I care, because I didn't have a dog in the fight. But now it's a real conundrum for me, because the Eagles just beat the Niners, so I can't root for them. And the Chiefs beat the Niners in Super Bowl 54 just 4 years ago, so I can't root for them either. So for me, it's like, who the hell? I'm just rooting for hopefully it's a good game. Actually, you know what? I'm a bitter person. I hope it's 6-3 and it's or 3. I mean, like one of those ugly ass games like Rams Patriots. Brady's last title with the Patriots was just an awful 13-3, 16, whatever the hell the final score is. But I can't root for either team. I really can't.
Well, I mean, this one's easy for me. I despise the Eagles so much. I would root for anybody over the Eagles. So go Chiefs. But I mean, I earned a lot of respect for Mahomes, as if I didn't have some for him already. I mean, the fact that he went out there on a high ankle sprain, willed his team to victory, gave me a lot of respect for him. So go Chiefs. I hope they demolish the Eagles and embarrass them and send them back to Philadelphia so they can.
I don't think there's any argument that can be made, because I know there's a lot of people out there that, a lot of people that aren't Chiefs fans. They're not Mahomes fans, but I don't even think there's a singular argument. And I'm a Josh Allen guy. I like Burrow. There is not an argument to be made at who the best quarterback in football is. And I don't even think it's close. I really don't. I think it's Mahomes and then everybody else.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, there's our little football recap that we've done for the last few weeks. And a couple weeks from now, maybe we'll talk about Super Bowl. Maybe we'll have one good one to talk about. But we're going to jump right in with our Bible verse. You guys know the drill, how the show works. So we're going to jump into our Bible verse and then get into our famous number 48. Today's Bible verse comes from, it's an all-timer. I don't want to say it's one of my favorite, because they're all my favorite. But comes from Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. We're going to tie back into this Bible verse once we get into the topic, because our main topic today is finance, is a financial topic that Dave wanted to get going on. So that's why I picked that Bible verse today, to talk about prosperity and the plans that the Lord has for you, not to harm you, give you hope, give you future, give you prosperity. So I don't want to dive deep into the Bible verse now, because we're going to get back to it. So that's your Bible verse today. Go check it out. Jeremiah is a long It's a long book in the Bible, but it's a great verse. But right into number 48. Dave compiled the list first, but there's a caveat with this list. He claims to be a Cowboys fan, but yet he missed one of the greatest 48s of all time. Just a straight up miss. I don't even know. Sometimes you miss. He literally just missed. So in honor of you, Dave, I want to start with Moose Johnston, Daryl Moose Johnston, number 48 for the Cowboys. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion fullback for Aikman, for that amazing, amazing team. He's the first number 48 that I'm saying, even though he's not the greatest number 48, he's the first 48 I'm starting with before I turn it over to you.
Yeah, and I'm ashamed. As a lifelong Cowboy fan, I'm ashamed. I used to love watching Moose out there just open up holes for Emmett. There's a reason Emmitt Smith leads the NFL in all-time rushing yards. It's because of a big part because of Moose Johnson. So I love Moose. Wish he was still on the Cowboys some days. But I can't believe I missed that one. So thank you for pointing it out. I appreciate it because that would have been an even bigger miss if you didn't make the show. So kudos there. So other number famous 48. Oh, go ahead.
No, he played at Syracuse, number one, which I didn't know. And I also didn't. He had didn't he have a pretty good broadcasting career? Wasn't he a broadcaster, or is he still a broadcaster?
I haven't heard him in a while. He was the number 2 on Fox.
Okay.
For a long time. Aikman and Buck were the lead, and then I forgot who was with Moose. But he used to do it with Saragusa too. It was Moose, whoever the main play-by-play was, and then Tony Saragusa back in the day. But yeah, he was a great broadcaster. A long list of Cowboys broadcasters.
Yeah, they win. Besides Aikman, they win more awards off the field than on the field.
Hey, at least they can get to Super Bowls on the broadcasting booth because they certainly can't get to them anymore playing. So,
well, first of all, we're going down the wrong.
Right.
Tony Romo should be allowed to call every Super Bowl. Period. End of story. It should be Nance and Romo. They shouldn't even be like that. Should be in the NFL's contract. Romo has to call a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Other number famous 48s. How about Torrey Hunter, Minnesota Twin? He's fantastic. He was probably probably my favorite as I went through the list, kind of growing up watching him. He was a lot of fun. Lee Smith, Hall of Famer with 478 saves. Pretty decent. Dave Stewart, 2-time ALCS MVP, 1-time World Series MVP. And most recently, Jacob deGrom, 2-time Cy Young Award winner. Baseball's got a pretty decent list there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, they do.
The best. I think the best of the 48s has to be Jimmy Johnson driving the Lowe's 48.
Oh, it's not even
Thoughts?
close. He's definitely the best number 48. That guy took over NASCAR. It was the way that I look at it is you had the Intimidator, right? After Petty, you had the Intimidator.
Yep.
Then there was that group that came along, the Jeff Gordons of the world, the Tony Stewarts of the world, which was a great group. Jimmy Johnson came and just obliterated everybody.
Yeah, he did. It was insane. He won 5 Sprint Cup championships in a row from 06 to 10. And then he won 2 more in 13 and 16. He won 7 in 11 years. He won the Daytona 500 2 times, and he won the Brickyard 400 4 times. It's insane.
Yeah, dude, the guy.
He just had some insane statistics.
You know what? And the thing is, he retired from NASCAR when he could have kept winning. He chose to stop driving. You know what I mean? I think he actually is. I think he's coming. He just does bits and he comes in and races whatever races he kind of wants to. But he, it's not even close who the best 48 on this list is. It's not close. It's him. The other one that
there was a few year span where I really got into racing, and when I was back at Home Depot when I was in college, and I was a huge Tony Stewart fan, and Jimmy Johnson. It was always that Lowe's rivalry too. You had Lowe's and Home Depot, and Jimmy Johnson was always the thorn on the side of Tony Stewart. It used to drive me crazy.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. The couple other numbers on this list, you put another one I do want to touch base. Stephen Davis. Not a lot of people, unless you're a football fan, know Stephen Davis, but Stephen Davis had a solid running back career, but I just remember Stephen Davis running people over the year that they went to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Patriots. I think that was Brady's second or third title, and they lost to the Patriots. In that Carolina Panthers game, that was Jake Delhomme, and I think Steve Smith was young, Ricky Prohl, Musha Muhammad, Stephen Davis. That was a great Panthers team that lost to the last-second field goal to that Patriots team. That's before Brady started throwing up the insane statistics. But Stephen Davis was the workhorse on that team that everybody seems to forget.
Yeah.
So
you got a birthday shout-out today, don't you?
Birthday shout-out. We are full force fathers, and it would be a disservice to the world if they didn't know that my dad's birthday. So record on Sunday, we release Tuesday. So right in the middle, Monday, tomorrow, or yesterday, depending on when you're listening, is my dad's birthday, February 6th. Big Scott. I could just do a whole episode talking about my dad. He is my best friend in the whole world. I talk to him every single day. He, everything I know in life, about, just everything, being a dad, hard work, athletics is shout out goes to him, man. He's the reason that I am who I am. And like I said, he's my best friend. His birthday's yesterday. The big 64. He probably don't want me to say it out loud, but at 64, my dad is a complete animal still. He goes to the gym twice a day. I mean, my love of fitness and exercise and basketball and baseball and everything, all my sports come from him. He's a stern father. He's very stoic, doesn't show much emotion. I mean, maybe that's where I differ from him a little bit. I'm more of an emotional guy, wear my heart on my sleeve kind of thing. But yeah, Big Scott, 64 years old. Happy birthday, Dad. Listen, I'm a full force father because of you. And I know, Dave, you can second that comment.
Yep, no doubt about it. That's where we got this idea, is from our fathers, from the way that they taught us, the way we wanted to continue to grow and teach our kids. So happy birthday, Scott. Might see him in a couple weeks if you guys come cruising on through Nashville. So that'll be pretty good.
We may be road tripping it. You never know. No spoiler alerts yet, but we may be heading out to see Dave in Nashville. And who knows, maybe if I'm out there for a day or two, we may be able to record a podcast in the same room like we did in Arizona back in May, which was a long time ago now. It seems like it was just yesterday, but it is a long time ago.
Different world, man.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on, Dave, I'm going to let you have the floor here because this was a topic that you've been wanting to talk about. And as you know, when it comes to the fitness stuff, I try to lead the charge. If it comes to the finance stuff, Dave kind of leads the charge, and then we mix everything else in between. So Dave brought up this topic to me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, I really want to touch base on this one again. We may have touched on it in the last year or so, but he really wanted to jump into it today. So Dave, the floor is yours, and then I'm going to hop in and have some comments here and there when need be, but I'm going to let you handle this main topic of today's episode.
Yeah, this is an important one, and we have touched on it in the past year, but you know what? We get new listeners all the time, and they might not have gone back and listened to the old stuff, so we'll hit them with it again. Inflation, it is crazy. When you go to the grocery store, your budget for the grocery store has to increase significantly. When you go out to eat, food going out to eat is more expensive. Gas is starting to go up again. All these things, the price of heating oil, gas, natural gas, it is every time you look around, something's going up. So inflation's a very real thing. I read an interesting article the other day, which I sent to you. It says 64% of people are living paycheck to paycheck as of December. And that's 166 million people in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's a 3% jump year over year from last year. And I think where there was an even bigger jump, which kind of stood out to me, is that now 51% of people making over $100,000 reported living paycheck to paycheck, compared to 42% the same time last year. Again, that was as of December. And I think that's a noticeable one, because for a while, if you're making more money, you can withstand some of those fluctuations in price. But as they start going up, they start affecting everybody. So unless you're one of the uber elites who make, I don't even want to say a number out there, but if you're just making over 100,000, 150,000 in that range, inflation's a real thing that's starting to affect you now too. It's not just people below that level, but increasing below that level is significant too. 2/3 of people making 50 to 100 are living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. 2/3 of people, and 3/4 of people making under 50,000. I'm surprised it's not higher than that, actually, are living paycheck to paycheck. It's a scary time right now. Bills continue to rise. And it's one of those things that we need to look at ways that we can save money in other places so that you can handle some of those increased costs.
Yeah, I think that is more of a pandemic than, I don't want to say it because who knows, but that's a real pandemic in this country. The amount of people that they can't afford. How many people can't afford an emergency? I don't know when you're spitting off statistics, I'm trying to keep up, but it's some crazy ass number that people, it's a huge percentage of people couldn't afford a $400 emergency or $1,000 emergency. They just can't. But like you said, I want to touch base on that one that really, really jumps out to me. The 51% of people that make over $100,000. All right. $100,000 a year is what, is it $8,000 a month, Dave? Is that what it is? You would know better than me off the top of your head.
A little bit more. Yeah.
It's eight. So I just hit it. So it's $8,300 a month. Now, granted, I know that's not take home pay. That's gross pay, but for just grossing over $8,000 a month, more than half are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, that may mean some people, inflation has something to do. I'm not going to not take inflation out of the equation, but that may be some people are stretching too thin on their mortgage payment or their rent payment or their car payments. That freaking video you sent me the other night had me in freaking shambles laughing about the car payment. We're not talking about investing today, but the amount of people with the car payment that's $800, $900,000, $1,200, $1,400 a month on a car, which is a normal mortgage payment. But that number to me really, really sticks out. Like, you have got to be in dire straits if you're making over $8,000 a month and you're living. I mean, you're scraping that when you live paycheck to paycheck, you're broke. You are scraping by to survive.
Yeah, it is. And you just asked about it, the percentage of people that can't cover $1,000 emergency. The last time I had checked the statistic was about a year ago, and it was 56%. 56% of people out there can't cover a $1,000 emergency, and that's staggering, and it's terrifying for folks, and it's sad. It's quite sad. But you mentioned it. People that are making a little bit more, we're starting to catch up with them now. They had car payments, they've got credit card bills, they maybe got balances that are out there. And now when you've got to pay those minimums, those things, your lifestyle needs to change. You're starting to sink now because you've got those payments that are due. They're due every single month. And if you don't pay them, you got an even bigger problem. So, that's why we always say getting out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt, because you can withstand the storm a lot easier than someone who is using debt to finance their entire lifestyle.
Yeah, no, it's we talked about it on the show, I think maybe 6 months ago, maybe not even, about the savings rate in America dwindling. That ties into this in the sense that those people that are making the more money, now they're starting to see their savings decline. So that's that's why that number's increasing for those 6-figure earners. The other one on here, the other one, the 3/4, 75% of people making under $50K a year live paycheck to paycheck. That doesn't surprise me at all. That one, I agree with you. That one doesn't surprise me at all, because you can't live on minimum wage. I mean, what's minimum wage? $15 an hour. That's $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year. You just can't survive on that unless you're living with someone. You got roommates. You got whatever. Even $50,000 a year. What's that? $4,000, $4,100, $4,200 a month. I mean, most people, I see mortgage payments every day. You're over 2 G's these days. You know what I mean? Good luck with everything else. That's not including, just your day-to-day living expenses. And those are the people that get hurt the hardest with the inflation, because I'm going to bring up eggs again, because eggs piss me off, because I have we have chickens, so we don't pay for eggs. But how many people can literally go out there and afford $8 or $7 for a dozen eggs? I eat 4 eggs a day. Imagine me spending $8. That's every 3 days. That's not including the girls if they want to have eggs for breakfast, or if Andine bakes something and you need eggs. How can people live on that? You can't. You literally can't do it.
Yeah, you can't live on it. And the federal minimum wage is $7.25, by the way.
That's ridiculous.
There's certain states that have raised it, but the federal minimum wage is $7.25. I mean, how can you live on that? Like you said, you can't even go buy a dozen eggs for that. It's absurd. Yeah. I mean, we talk about, how, fitness and health is such a big piece. I mean, if you want to try and eat organic right now, or, you're trying to eat whole foods, and you're not trying to eat processed stuff, like your costs have skyrocketed. And that's just a fact, but that's not going to change. So what are you going to do about it to be able to continue to do those things, to be a full force father, eat the way you should eat, stay in shape, and continue to pay off debt, or at least tread water right now, so that you're not falling further and further behind? Those are the questions.
Yeah, there's things to do, and I this is my portion. Dave, when Dave gets going on the financial path, I kind of just let him go, but I just felt inclined to put a tip list. Here's a tip list from Brett about how to fight those living paycheck to paycheck. The first one Dave read, and he probably smiled ear to ear when I typed it out. But the first tip, and I'm going to give you a list of tips. This topic we're not done talking about it yet, but I want to kind of go through a couple of these tips, because Dave and I have both been in this situation before in our lives. So, take it from experience, and listen, nothing changes. We've said it 100 times on the show. Nothing changes without discipline and hard work, right? You have to make the changes. But the first thing, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, Dave, I want you to talk about this one. Make a budget. Write it down. What are you spending? Yeah. What are you not spending? Because I think right there, you really find out if you're actually paycheck to paycheck, or if you're just an idiot.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly right. And until you do write it down, you don't know. Money just goes out the door. It's so easy when you take your debit card or, some people their credit card and you're just swiping it, put it in. There was an interesting study that was done at one point. People who paid with cash, people who paid with a debit card, people who paid with a credit card. And the people who paid with cash were able to tell you within $1 of how much they spent in a store. People with a debit card were able to tell you within $5 of what they spent in the store. And people with a credit card, I think it was over, they couldn't guess within $10 of what they spent. So that's just kind of telling you how people think about money when you're using credit cards versus debit cards. But using a budget, writing it down. I have to write mine down every single month. We have apps and those things are fantastic and they're easy for keeping it with you on the go. But for the main crux of it, I got to write it down on paper. You've got to write down everything. What do you spend money on? What are your bills? You got your groceries, you got going out, you got miscellaneous, you've got toiletries, you've got entertainment. You might have some kids' expenses. Maybe they got karate or they got sports or scouts or something. Anything that you're spending money on, anything needs to go into the budget. How much is your electric bill? How much is your water bill, your trash bill? Like all those things, they go into the budget. And at the end of the month, what you bring in minus what goes out needs to equal zero. And when I say what goes out, that means all your bills plus any of your savings or debt payoff. So you've got to even those things out. It's called a zero-based budget, and it's probably the most important thing. I'm glad this was tip number one, Brett, because it's probably the most important thing you can do to impact your finances today. Because I guarantee you're probably going to see like you got a raise. You're gonna think you got a raise by the time you do a budget, and you look at how many times you stop for coffee, you get lunch out, you go out to dinner with the family. You're spending money in places that you don't even remember. And that's where it comes back. You look at the budget and you say, all right, this is how much I have to spend this month. Now I know if I've only got a couple $100 left, I can't go out to eat 3 times a week. You might be able to go out twice in 1 month for $200 now. So Those are the things you gotta just focus on to make the difference. And that's going to help. That's going to immensely help you in kind of stopping this overflow.
Yeah. And I think it's the best way to find out if you actually truly live paycheck to paycheck. Because like you said, you're going to feel, I bet you if you go through your budget with a fine-tooth comb, you're going to find that you actually got a raise because you realize how much frivolous spending is going on by just creating that budget. My second tip that I put on here, Dave, and this one, we don't talk about jobs very often on this, and I think it's probably a segment we could maybe jump into a little bit better or a little bit more. But if you're living to paycheck, you've done your budget, you realize you're spending, more's going out than coming in. Depending on what you're doing for a living, but I'm pretty sure in every field there's room for advancement, right? See if there's an opportunity at your current job or your current company, especially if you like where you work. If there's a potential for advancement or a raise somewhere, take another job inside the company. Move up if you're in retail, move up to a supervisor. A lot of those things can happen by you just asking and showing what you want to do. If you love what you do, right? Because you may make a move inside your company. Your hours won't even change, but all of a sudden you're making $3 an hour, $4 an hour, $5 an hour, $10,000 a year raise. So outside of that budget first to make sure you actually are living paycheck to paycheck. If you are and you need to make more money, see if there's opportunity in your current field of work, in the current company you work for, to see if you can move along.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. So many times people just sit content in what they're doing and never ask. It's okay to ask for a raise. What's the worst thing that happens? They tell you no. Yep. Okay, well, at least you asked. Show them the things you're doing. Document the things. If you're doing things that warrant a raise, you need to be going in every day, being the best employee that they have, and treating the job the way that it's supposed to be treated. You can't be in there bad mouthing the company all the time, slacking off, leaving early, coming in late. Those things aren't going to cut it. I guaranteed you're not going to get a raise for that. But if you're doing things the right way, you're a hard worker, you're showing up on time, you're leaving on time, you're giving everything you have, go in and ask for a raise. What's the worst that they have? What's the worst thing? They say no.
Yep. The third tip I put on this sheet, they kind of tier right down, right? First one, you find out you're on paycheck to paycheck. Second one, there's no room for advancement, but you love your job, you don't want to quit it. Or, hey, you just started putting your heart and soul in your job, so it's going to take a little bit of time before they notice you to get a raise, right? The next thing is go get a part-time job. Dave and I have both done this throughout our adult working lives. We've went and got part-time jobs because when you need to do, you have to do better than just make ends meet. You have to. You can't live that way forever. You can't survive that way. So swallow your pride. we've mentioned this on the show before, go get yourself a part-time job. An extra $200 a week goes a long way. Because let me see, if you do your zero-based budget and you're truly paycheck to paycheck, and all of a sudden at the end of the month, you're sinking. An extra $500 to $1,000 a month, which you could go make anywhere part-time, will do wonders for your financial situation. Absolute wonders for your financial situation.
Absolutely, and it will. And you know what else comes along with that when you're at work, working extra, making more money? You're not out spending it, which most people do. That's what they do. They're out spending money when they're bored. They're not working. They're like, oh, let's go out. No, well, if you're going to work, you're not going to be out spending more money. So it's a win-win, really. And yeah, there's a part-time job everywhere. You can go get something. It might not be the most glamorous thing in the world. But you know what? Like you said, swallow your pride, get in there, do the job. You've got a family to raise. You got a father to be. You are supposed to be a full-force father, setting an example for your kids. Show them what hard work means. Show them what taking care of your family means. Do the things to continue to put your financial situation out in front instead of falling behind and complaining like everybody else. That's the difference. You can go find a job tomorrow if you need extra money. If you're paycheck to paycheck or you're falling behind in your finances, go get a part-time job that a lot of them pay pretty well. A lot of them pay pretty stinking well, especially in retail. There's a lot of retail spots. And you know what? They're hurting for people. They always want people in retail, whether it's stocking shelves or working early morning, setting displays, whatever it may be. You can find a job that works with your full-time job, and you can make a lot of extra money to help alleviate some of that pressure as well. You are 100% right.
Yeah, because a lot of these part-time jobs, these people are dying for help. So if you go in there and look for a job, but you tell them, hey, I can work, 4 to 10 in the morning or 7 to midnight at night, dude, they're going to hire you because there's always the need for help.
Yep.
And listen, if you work an extra 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day and you're making 20 hours a week, you're making $10-15 an hour, you make a quick, like I said, quick $1,000 every month. That could cover your rent depending on your situation without ever touching your regular job.
Yeah. And here's a tip. Don't just go online and apply for a job and just hope and pray that it comes together. No, apply for the job. Go into the store. Go into wherever it is that you're looking to work. Talk to somebody, an actual person, face to face, eye to eye, have a conversation. I want to be here. I want this job. This is why. These are the things I can bring to the table. When can we have an interview, a formal interview? I can start immediately. Those are the things, but you can't just put an application. I tried, I did it. I put it up. Nobody's hiring. They're not trying hard enough.
Because
make the effort, go in, actually see somebody.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff now, like you said, you can't just submit an application because a lot of stuff is run by computers. The computers pick your application, and if for some reason they don't like it, it gets tossed out. You answer a question wrong or something like that. You don't even get to an interview stage because the computer's already freaking tossed it, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I did that. I did that exact thing. When I was looking for a part-time job, I filled out an application. I didn't give any effort whatsoever. I didn't go into the store. I didn't do anything. And guess what? I never got a phone call. I got an email saying like 3 months later that said my application was about to expire if I wanted to resubmit it because I gave no initiative whatsoever.
Yeah. If those computer algorithms will take you completely out of the running before it even started, before you even got looked at. I had a friend of mine in Tucson who redid my resume for me months ago and taught me about it, keywords and all these different things that you need to do, how you got to streamline your resume. And if you're not doing those things, the computer algorithms are just kicking it out. You're in the garbage pile. So, maybe there's somebody that you can talk to. There's people online on LinkedIn, all sorts of places that you can talk to also about getting your resume in a position to be able to kind of get through those computer algorithms and get seen at least. But yeah, getting into the place that you want to go, actually having a conversation, that's a huge part of it. And that goes beyond just part-time jobs. That goes for a full-time job too. If you want a different full-time job, make it a point to go and meet somebody. That's where the difference is going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. And then another tip, the fourth tip I put on this list, and this is another one that maybe could be closer to the top if you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck. Sell stuff. Have a tag sale. Have a yard sale. Have a garage sale. Whatever you call it, wherever you live in the country, okay? Sell some stuff. How about sell that car or anything that's financed? If you can sell it to pay off the balance, you can eliminate your paycheck to paycheck problem pretty quickly by just selling one or two big items that's sitting in your driveway or in your garage or in your house that if you don't need, because you don't need it, you really don't, you could fix your problem in the blink of an eye by selling stuff that's financed.
Yeah, that's the big thing, that it's financed. If you can unload those payments, your financial situation just got completely different. I mean, you guys have been doing it with one vehicle for a long time now. It's doable.
Yep.
You know, we had other friends in Arizona too that had one vehicle for a long time. They made it work. Is it convenient? No. Is it doable? Yeah, it's doable. But even still, even if it's not big things that are financed, I guarantee you, everybody that's listening could go around their house right now and find $2,000 worth of stuff that they could go and sell. $2,000 can go a long way. Yeah. So, you know, you just got to look through things. How many things have you not used in years that you're just hanging on to that somebody else might find value in and might pay you for? So there's all sorts of things. Just go look around your house. You'll find some money sitting there.
Yeah. And in the end of, you know, to wrap up these tips and whatnot, nothing will change unless you want it to change, no matter how you want to spin it. Some people have their I had it moment. Some people just start crying one day and they break down emotionally because living paycheck to paycheck. And I know there's people out there listening right now that it's also hard to admit if you live paycheck to paycheck, but there are people out there listening right now that, you know, all they need right now is that conversation with themselves to just have that conversation, to say the words out loud. I hate where I'm at. I need to make a change. It's the same thing Dave mentioned in our visualization episode, right? You have to visualize not being in that place anymore, right? I talk about it a lot when it comes to fitness. You have to visualize not being a fat ass anymore, not eating the donut, not eating the cake, going for the walk. You have to getting up early in the morning. You have to visualize those things, because at the end of the day, Dave and I can come on here and say, dude, yeah, living paycheck to paycheck sucks. We both experienced it, but we both were so fed up with doing it. And there's so many millions of people out there that are in that situation right now they say they'd give everything to not live paycheck to paycheck, but then they don't do anything. You know?
Right. You said it right at the beginning, and that was the most important part. You've got to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to tell yourself, this is where I'm at. And you have to be okay with it. Don't be embarrassed about it. Don't get yourself, you know, in a headspace that you don't do anything about it, but you got to be honest with yourself. Yeah. I'm terrible with money. I'm falling behind. I'm paycheck to paycheck. I want this to stop. I want the bleeding to stop. I want to be able to do things with my family without being stressed and feel like I'm getting suffocated by these bills. That's something you got to acknowledge. Yeah, I got to acknowledge I'm out of shape. I'm fat. I need to lose weight. I need to get healthy. Those types of things. You know what? I'm a terrible Christian. I'm terrible at whatever. You need to acknowledge it. Those are the things that you need to acknowledge. That it starts with that. And then, like you said, all these pieces that we talk about come together. There's visualization. You got to believe it for it to happen. But we gave you some great practical tips today. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do instead of sitting in your house watching the news and complaining about it.
Yeah, no. And to tie this in, like with our Bible verse from 30 minutes ago when we opened up the show and I talked about the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11, like God, like I said this last week, God isn't going to just fix all your problems, but he's going to help you, guide you through and create the path for you, because that's what he does. Pick up the good book and read it.
Yep.
Read that verse over and over again, right? God is here for us. He knows the plans that he has for us well before we know. All right. And those plans include plans for us to prosper. Okay. You can use prosper in any term, financially, spiritually, physically, however you want to prosper, however you want to turn it. But to tie it into this, he has plans for us to prosper, not harm us, right? When we're in a bad situation, we feel hurt, right? He has plans to give us a hope in a future. So there's hope that you no longer have to live paycheck to paycheck or in a terrible financial situation. You do have a future, right? You just have to find it somewhere deep down inside of you to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well said.
So what do you got for the old book recommendation today, David?
Well, you don't want to talk about 75 Hard today?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. But let's touch base. Good. You jump into 75 Hard. Great. Now, so I'm glad you brought it up. You can be quiet for a second. I'm glad you brought it up because I was tired of listening to you bitch the other day about 75 Hard. This ties into the beginning of the episode.
I wasn't bitching about 75 Hard.
We're talking about Dave's bathroom. Okay. I talked to him last night or the night before, 8 o'clock. I'm just getting my second workout in. I can't believe it. I always have to work out in the dark. I said, you did this to yourself. He goes, no, I didn't. My bathroom did. I said, so now you're blaming the bathroom for your 75 hard workout being in the dark. I said, you chose to rip the bathroom out, not me.
It's true. It is true. But you know how I am. I'm impatient. I want to get things done. So I spend my days, and I do. Even on the weekends, I wind up somehow still working out in the dark, which is frustrating. But I didn't even tell you this. Last night, I almost failed. What you forget? Water or book? On the book. I was behind on water all day. I caught up, and I ended up peeing all night long. But in the weekends, I get a little bit out of the routine, especially when I'm doing a project like this. Everything just kind of, and it shouldn't. I got to fix that. But yesterday, everything was out of sync. I was just totally out. I was doing a project I had never done. Like I said, plumbing, not my thing. I was stressed about that, figuring it out, and I just kind of lost track of time. I went in last night to go to bed, and I was walking over, and thankfully, I had my book on my nightstand.
Yeah.
And I said to Casey, I said, oh, man, I almost failed. And she's like, what? I was like, I didn't read my pages yet. So thankfully I caught myself, because that would have been devastating to lose it on pages, 10 pages. Especially when you love to read. So almost, but kept it on track. Yeah, I know. And I do. I love to read now, especially when it's a good book. And that would have been terrible. But that being said, I've been locked in. Everything feels good. Feel better than I have in a really long time. So how about you? We're good. I mean, you finished phase 2. Yeah, this is actually what you were doing, because you're on the Live Hard program, but you're continuing along. Yeah, I haven't checked. I still, I pretty much just check imaginary boxes now, because I don't want to reset the app, because I love the picture that I took. I took a screenshot of my photo. Actually, I'm going to show it to you guys right now. I'll open up the app if you're watching on YouTube. I love this photo, and it's like my new motivation. So let's see here. Where's my photos? So it says right here. The first one says, "Get ready for phase 3." If you can see that, get ready for phase 3. And then the second one, this one I love. Phase 3 starts on June. Oh, sorry, that's thinking ring light. June 2nd, 2023. Get ready. I love that. I love it. I actually opened up the app this morning and saw that, and I was like, hell yeah. So for me, awesome. I've been very routine. I'm very routine based as it is. So, and it's now, today as of recording, it's the 36th day of the year. So, every day this year so far, I've run a minimum of 5 miles in my 250 crunches first thing in the morning. So every single morning, it's been rain, it's been mud, and that's just been the driving factor. Now, my second workouts are the ones that usually vary depending on the weather, but I've gotten into this good routine of grabbing my dumbbells and getting my ass outside in the afternoon, no matter the weather, to get my second workout. Because if there's anything that I hate more, it's working out inside. So I've been just, imaginary checking the boxes as I go along, going side by side with you and Carp's brother-in-law and things like that. I totally feel your pain though with the reading. I haven't come close to failing over the reading, because it's one of those parts of my morning routine that I just refuse to let go. I will not go out for my morning run until I have read my pages, and I literally leave my book on the kitchen table, and I can't go buy it. I can't go out the door without seeing it. So I literally leave my book on the kitchen table in the morning when I get up, to make sure I get those 10 pages read, even though I'm not technically on the program, but I'm on the program. You know what I mean? Yep, absolutely. So, cool. That's our 75 hard update. And now you can get your book recommendation. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a good one today. It's called The Monk and the Merchant by Terry Felber. This is a great one. It talks about the 12 keys to a successful life and successful living. It's interesting because this book is set way in the past, and this guy has an internal debate on whether or not he can be a merchant or if he needs to be a monk, if the only way to get through to God is by being a monk, if that's the only way he can get through. But this book goes through the 12 keys to unlocking a successful living by living through principles of God in your daily life, connecting with him that way through being a merchant. and providing a service and goods to people who need them. And it was a really interesting read. I really liked it. It was a quick read, another quick read, but really good. It was this guy was telling the story to his grandson about how he learned the 12 keys to successful living from a person, a monk and a merchant that he was in contact with, who taught him the lessons. This, again, set way back in time. And the grandfather basically came up with a currency for all of Europe. And that's what he was as a merchant. He came up with this currency. And this gentleman that he was working with was teaching him the ways to continue to grow his business, affect more people, and make change in the world. And it was a great book. I really enjoyed it. Again, short read. Go check it out. The Monk and the Merchant by Terry Felber.
Well, that's a good recommendation, David. And, go out and pick it up. And it sounds like a really, really enjoyable book. I'm going to have to go see if the library's got a copy, or I'm going to have to get it myself. So that's your book recommendation for the day. And the floor is yours to take us home, Dave.
All right, buddy. Continue to live the full force life. Inflation, yes, it's a very real thing, but you can certainly do things about it to change your situation. So look in the mirror, find out where you're at, create a budget, assess the situation, acknowledge where you're at. That's going to make the difference, and get to it. Continue to live the full force life. We'll see you next week in episode 49.